In the summer of 2019, Arsenal broke our then club record by spending £72 million on a talented yet unproven Ivorian from Ligue 1 in Nicolas Pepe. At the age of just 24, he was ripping up Ligue 1, scoring 23 goals and assisting a further 12 in 41 appearances for Lille the year prior. Fast forward till today, no club apart from the Saudis, who seem to be buying everyone lately, no club seems to be interested in acquiring Pepe. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing what exactly went wrong with Nicolas Pepe and Arsenal, as well as if we should keep him or not this season. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Gunner Central here. I hope you're all doing well. Now, Pepe's time at Arsenal does need some context first, right? Arsenal were just about to have our second season under Emery, and there was a general sense of optimism despite the somewhat obvious flaws within the club. We had just gotten to the Europa League final the year prior and finished 1 point outside the Champions League. Now, the somewhat obvious problems in the club stemmed from the fact that we were trying to now reshape with the fact that Arsene Wenger had recently left. The Cronkies seemed less hands-on and uninterested in the club than they are now, and Raul Sanelli, although he did help in the decision to hire Mikel, which has now proved genius, Raul Sanelli seemed to struggle when it came to the bigger decisions around the club. So although fans at the time seemed somewhat optimistic, there were big shakeups needed to fix the club going forward. Thus, we smashed our club record, which makes you think, in hindsight, it was probably a desperate move by the Arsenal board to get us over the hump and in the Champions League spots. But nonetheless, we smashed our club record by spending £72 million on Nicolas Pepe. Now, I must admit, at the time I was somewhat apprehensive about the transfer. I felt it was far too much for a player that only started performing at a star level the year prior. I think, and since then even, Emery has come out and said that he told the Arsenal board at the time that he wanted the proven Premier League winger in Wilfried Zaha from Crystal Palace, instead of the somewhat unproven but clearly talented Nicolas Pepe. So with Pepe moving to Arsenal, he wasn't in the greatest situation. He was moving to a new country, new league, didn't speak the language, and he had the pressure of being the most expensive signing for a historic and huge club in Arsenal. Arsenal also seemed somewhat messed up at the top, and Pepe wasn't even the manager's first choice on his transfer list. So it was an uphill battle from the jump for Nicolas Pepe. But despite not being the most favourable situation, Pepe still performed to a decent level. He never quite looked like the £72 million player that we had paid for him, but he certainly didn't put in a bad effort in his first season. Scoring 8 and assisting 10 in 42 games, again, wasn't great but was somewhat decent, and seeming like quite a handful for defences on some nights. That's not even mentioning the managerial change halfway through the season. And to top it all off, Arsenal finished off the turbulent season with an FA Cup to show for it, with Pepe even getting an assist in the final against Chelsea. And now that Mikel can have a full pre-season and summer transfer window with the squad, then Pepe and the rest of the team can only get better from here. And to be fair, Pepe did up his level somewhat the following campaign. He finished off with 16 goals and 5 assists in 47 games for the team. However, cracks did start appearing during the season, with Pepe getting red-carded in a moment of madness, if you remember, when he headbutted Alioski in a normal draw against Leeds away from home, and Pepe getting benched for games where we would have expected him to start. Despite this though, he ended off the season on a tear with 4 goals in just 2 Premier League games. So that kind of left us with even more anticipation with what Pepe was capable of achieving under the new manager Mikel Arteta. However, this is about as good as it got for Pepe. The following season, we saw his performances take a drastic downturn and his game time getting more than halved as a result of that. Scoring just 3 goals and assisting 6 throughout the campaign, the writing was on the wall that his time at Arsenal was coming to an end. The following season, he was loaned out back to Ligue 1 to Nice, where we kind of saw more of the same performance-wise from Pepe. So what went wrong? Well, I think there are a couple things to take into account when answering this question. First of all, I think the breakthrough of players like Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe, and even to some extent Reece Nelson has kind of left Pepe getting pushed down to the bench and getting little to no meaningful minutes for Arsenal. Another thing was Pepe himself. Now, I don't know Pepe personally, obviously. I don't see him train day in and day out. But if we strictly basing this off reports, Pepe seemed to lack an elite work ethic and strong mentality, which, as we know, are crucial attributes you must have to survive under Mikel Arteta as your manager. Nice's manager slammed Pepe last season for his work rate and lack of fitness. So, Pepe at times also seemed uninterested when playing for Arsenal. Now, he was amazing in spurts, but also could go missing in games. He didn't seem to possess a drive to track back and help out at the back as much as the younger players like Saka and Martinelli Smith Rowe. So now that brings us to today, where Pepe's future is up in the air. He's clearly not a starter in this football club, and he's looking closer and closer to his contract either being terminated or him being sold. With Pepe, I think he's always going to be a player that us Arsenal fans look back at with some mixed feelings. He had so much talent and possessed jaw-dropping skill, but he simply just wasn't and isn't consistent enough, I don't think. There are so many factors that has played in Pepe's downfall, whether it's the manager, himself, or simply, I don't know, him not fitting in the system that we had played. Now, should we keep him or sell him? I think we need to let him go if we get an offer from any Saudi club, right? We can get some decent money for him now, and we have a lot of players ahead of him in the pecking order. But at the time of recording, there is an unnamed Saudi club that is positioning themselves to secure the signing of Nicolas Pepe. Now, I understand the people thinking we should keep him as a backup for Saka, but like I said, I think we have enough depth in that position. Obviously, there's Trossard, who is an outstanding player, Smith Rowe, who can fill in that position, Reece Nelson, who has also recently signed to a new long-term contract here. If, however, we can't sell Pepe, I'd rather keep him and see what we can get from him this season as opposed to terminating his contract. But with all that being said, I would love to know your take on what exactly went wrong with Pepe in the comments and what we should do with him moving forward. And I'll see you guys in the next one.